Hey, All Saints, I hope this finds you well. Over the next couple of months, we want to highlight ministries that All Saints is involved in, either institutionally in terms of financially backing or even relationally, ministries that our church members are involved in. Today, we're going to talk about West Dallas Community School with Sam Turner, who's the principal at West Dallas Community School. Sam, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing wonderful. It's great to see you, Dustin. Thanks for having me
Good.
on.
Yeah, of course. Good to see you too. I'm going to ask you questions about West Dallas Community School, but before that, will you tell us a little bit about your background, how you came to faith, and how you found All Saints?
Oh wow, you're gonna get me in a long story. I came to faith. I grew up in a Christian home, but baptized from a young age. Went to a Presbyterian church in Dallas, PCPC, and um, grew up in Christian schools. But it really took me till after college, kind of amidst a personal crisis of my own. I went to a fellows program in Houston and did a program with the Episcopal Church there. And I'd never been in any kind of Anglican service before then. And this was actually a fairly charismatic Episcopal church, St. John the Divine in Houston. And it was during the first few months of that I really began to understand the presence of the Holy Spirit in my life, and felt a real deep transformation of my own heart and mind through things like Lectio Divina and practicing presences of the Holy Spirit within the liturgical context of the church that I would say transformed my life. Don't know if I would say come to faith, but certainly brought my faith into the reality of my everyday life in a way that had never been before. And so from there, when I went back to Dallas, and I first started teaching actually at West Dallas in 2012, so really right after college for me. And I was looking for a church very similar to the church I was in Houston, and just so happened to be at a school at West Dallas Community School where the headmaster, Bentley Craft at the time, actually was also going to All Saints. And I ran into several people, and they all mentioned the Holy Spirit, and they all mentioned Anglicanism. And that was all I needed. And I showed up at All Saints probably at the beginning of 2013, and have been going to All Saints while I've been in Dallas since that time. And yeah, loved All Saints. It's been my home and a place of a lot of growth and life for me. So
yeah. And then a little bit of more background. You went to our state's Agricultural and Mechanical Institute in the Brazos Valley. And then you went and then you went to seminary, and I took your place here at All Saints directing our young adult ministry. And so tell us a little bit about the way you're currently ministering at West Dallas Community School, what y'all, sort of the demographic that y'all serve, and what you do there.
So West Dallas Community School is a private Christian classical school that is largely geared to serving families of lower income backgrounds, and particularly aimed at serving the West Dallas community. It was started in 1995. At the time, West Dallas was actually the poorest zip code, or one of the poorest zip codes in Dallas. That's transformed over time for sure, but we still largely serve a population that is considered at or below the line for receiving free or reduced lunch from the federal government. So 70% of our population would probably be marked as that. And we serve families that otherwise would never be able to afford an education like this. And many of the families pay as low as $60 a month for tuition to go to West Dallas Community School. And the goal and the mission of West Dallas is definitely to provide an excellent education, which if you look at the education we provide compared to schools around us is well surpassing that on every metric that you can measure it by. But more importantly, we're a school that's about discipleship and mission. Our school is not actually just for people that are confessing Christians. In fact, we allow any student that's willing to show up and can meet the academic standards to come to the school, any family background, to actually join the school. And they'll hear the Bible every single day. We read the Bible every day. We have chapel once a week on Wednesdays. And our school is deeply formational in the sense that we have only 12 to 15 students in every single class. And our teachers and our families are very well known by our community and our staff. And we work very intentionally alongside the students to develop young men and women that are pursuing the true, good, and beautiful in the community of West Dallas, and with the backgrounds that they're from. And it's the kind of work that, frankly, is very difficult, but also deeply rewarding. So, yeah.
And you've let me preach in chapel a couple of
Yeah.
times at the South Community School. It really is. It's hard to articulate exactly, but when you walk in the building, there's just so much joy that is exuded there, which isn't always the case
Mhm.
in schools. So walk us through a little bit. If someone were to
Yeah.
come on campus today, what would they find in the classrooms and in the hallways?
Yeah. So I actually what you said after that chapel is stuck with me because you said the words that I've never seen so much order and joy in a space. And I
Mm,
thought a lot about that because I think we're a pre-K through eighth grade school, and we're based on some Charlotte Mason principles, particularly as the lower grades, we emphasize a lot of the habits of attention and habits formation over and against just knowledge gaining. And so much of our space is ordered with the idea of allowing our students and our children to be children. And I think that's something that gets really lost in our culture, is that idea that order for children is so important for them to
mhm.
be children and for them to then live in a peaceful environment where they can gain habits of attention, allowing them to focus on the things that God has given us that are true, good, and beautiful. And once they are able to encounter those things in a community that welcomes them and gives them peace, there's joy. That's what children bring. They bring joy. So that's kind of the way in which I've actually begun to think about this school, as those words you gave me. I was like, that's really what we're doing is our pre-K teachers. They're drill sergeants the first 2 weeks of school. They are getting the students in line, helping them learn how to control their bodies and their minds to sit in a space to learn alongside other students. And over time, it's amazing to watch transformation of students who come in every day, sometimes very difficult situations at home, or they themselves are unable to control themselves. But within a month's time, those students are sitting still, listening carefully, and able to engage in the learning aspects of school, as well as engaging in just paying attention to the world around them in a new way that opens up their hearts and minds to be the children that are full of joy that I think you'll often see in the school. But you would see a very quiet space. Our school is quiet, and it's quiet, not in a sense that there's no one here, but rather as like we are intentionally cultivating the space for our students to learn. And so
Mm.
it's a quiet space, and it's also a space where we also allow for the students to have very joyful outbursts, but in the spaces that are appropriate. So that's a defining factor of the school, I think, is that we're about habit formation, which looks like a lot of order for our students to allow them to actually grow in those habits that produce joy. So yeah.
Yeah. And if most people who are going to be watching this obviously go to All Saints, it's interesting because our service is ordered, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
There's structure to it, and that structure is meant to disciple. And it's so interesting that sometimes with education or work or whatever it is, we almost think the opposite, that we don't need order there to
Mhm.
express joy, but sort of the three stream principle that we have is operative
Yeah.
everywhere, that order is meant to draw us into
Yeah.
expressions of joy and that kind of thing, which is so evident at West Dallas Community School. Well, as people are watching this, again, most of them might be All Saints folks. How could they get more involved at West Dallas Community School? How could
Yeah.
they support the school, the teachers, the administration, and
Yeah.
then lastly, how could we be praying for you?
Those are all good questions. I will say one more thing about the school, because I think it's also important to emphasize the school is a very tight knit community. This is also something that if you're a part of a volunteer here, you'll feel as well, that we are not just like an order from top down aspect, but we have 10 to 12 students in a lot of our classes, and we know the students so well and the families really well that when you come to be a part of the school, you're a part of a tight knit community. And it's felt like for me being in this role that I've been getting to play on the baseball team of my youth to join a team that I get to actually really do something meaningful and valuable, but we're in this tight knit community working together. So if I was going to invite anyone into it, I would say that one of the primary, we do have volunteers come in regularly to tutor our students on one-on-one capacities. We have also, if you ever have any special skill set, whether it be offering help with administrative roles or help with any kind of doing administrative tasks, we'd always value it. We actually had our South Parish volunteer event here where we had a bunch of guys with chainsaws chopping up trees, and that was actually a huge benefit. Saved us a lot of money, and very thankful to our volunteers that day, particularly Dell and Ben Embry and some of those guys that helped. But I would love to do that again, honestly. But so we have volunteers come regularly though, and that's obviously one way to really support the school. I would also encourage you, if you're interested in donating to the school or any way of connecting to the school, set up a time to come visit. You can email me directly at sturner@wdcschool.org, and I'd be happy to set up just a tour of the school, because for me, the school shows itself when you come here. So if you come here and you want to participate either through volunteering or through donations, we'd gladly take it. Our budget is largely through donations, so we depend a lot on donor gifts. So if you're interested in supporting a school that does the work on the daily level to build formational aspects into students and Christian education for students that wouldn't otherwise afford it, and really it's honestly, as well as addressing what are the really hard questions of generational poverty and how do you address that. And to me, they're never easy answers, and this school is a space where we're wrestling with that in a way that's very real and tangible,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard. So if you want to join in participating in that daily exercise of serving populations that may not get the same resources that other populations get, then this is a place to do that. So we'd encourage anyone to visit, volunteer, and donate too. So yeah.
Wonderful. Sam, we so much appreciate
Yeah.
not just your work in ministry at West Dallas Community School, but your work in ministry at All Saints over all these years. As I said, I took over young adult ministry. That was my first job at All Saints from you, and you had created such just a rich and thick community. I think that's your big gift in life, is creating rich community, and you're doing that at West Dallas Community School and continue to do that at All Saints. So thank you for your ministry. If you are watching this and would like to get more involved in West Dallas Community School, Sam gave his email address. Feel free to email him. Email me, Dustin@ascdallas.org, and I can connect you with him further. Go in peace.
Go peace, Dustin. Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
you.
you.